Да. Здравствуйте, привет. Как вы набрали? Меня свидать. Спасибо, что на свой занят, пригласили нас и тепло приняли.
This is my video update from Nicosia, Cyprus on this Wednesday afternoon, September the 13th. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with another Russian missile and drone strike on the ports in the Odessa region. These are the ports which are close to the borders of Romania that Russia has been hitting over the past, I want to say, 2-3 weeks, and they've been destroying and dismantling these ports. And last night you had more missiles and drones hit these ports close to the borders of Romania. And the interesting part about this story is the fact that Russia decided to launch an attack on these ports close to Romania, while at the same time, the US, Romania, Turkey, I believe Bulgaria, and maybe the UK, Turkey for sure, as well as Ukraine, are conducting military exercises in this very region. The exercises are called Operation Sea Breeze, and they're meant to protect the sea corridor of Romania and the Black Sea. They're meant to work on demining this area and to protect this corridor area off the coast of Romania in the Black Sea. But it's very interesting that Russia decided at this very moment to launch attacks at these ports without fearing any type of response from NATO or any type of accident occurring where NATO could have used that as some sort of an excuse to perhaps intervene in the conflict in Ukraine, which shows you that Russia is pretty confident of the fact that it can strike out at this infrastructure with NATO in the area without having to fear any type of NATO reprisal. I believe confident is the word that Levan Gudadzia he used in his video update this morning. And I think that's the right word. The Russian military is confident enough to hit these port areas in the Odessa region, while at the same time NATO is conducting military exercises. What does that tell you? That tells me that Russia is not worried about NATO intervention. It's almost as if Russia is calling NATO's Operation Sea Breeze bluff. Anyway, the big strikes that did occur, the strikes that are getting all of the media attention that did occur yesterday, are the strikes that Ukraine launched towards Crimea and towards Sevastopol. And we now have the Russian Ministry of Defense coming out with a statement and confirming that Ukraine did indeed launch a big missile and naval drone strike towards Crimea, targeting Sevastopol. The Russian Ministry of Defense confirmed that 10 cruise missiles were launched, and 3 of those missiles made it through, hitting 2 vessels that were docked in Sevastopol undergoing repair, and those vessels have been damaged. There's been various photos and videos coming out which allegedly show the strike and the fires and the damage from the cruise missile strikes, but it's hard to know if this is confirmed video and image footage, but the damage looks pretty. If you go by these images and these videos, the damage looks pretty extensive, but we still don't know the exact level of damage that was done on these 2 vessels that were undergoing repairs in Sevastopol. The Russian Ministry of Defense, they also said that 24 people were injured in this strike. I don't know if any people died from this missile strike, but 24 is the number of people that have been injured. And there's a lot of speculation on the interwebs which claim that this may have been the first ATACMS missile strike towards Russia. That the United States, while it claims that it hasn't made a decision on delivering the ATACMS yet, it may have already delivered the ATACMS, as it usually does. It says that it doesn't know if it's going to deliver this weapon or it'll deliver this weapon in a month, but usually that weapon has already been delivered to Ukraine. And so there's a lot of speculation that the ATACMS missiles, they made their debut yesterday towards Crimea and towards Sevastopol. And the interesting part about this strike is not that it accomplishes anything militarily as far as the conflict in Ukraine is concerned. It's not going to change the trajectory of Ukraine's super duper big counteroffensive, which is a failure and is failing. This missile strike's not going to make a difference there. It's not going to change the trajectory of the conflict in Ukraine. But the timing of this missile strike is what makes it interesting. This missile strike comes at a time when you have the Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok, which Putin is attending, and he spoke at this forum. It comes at the same time that you do have these NATO Operation Sea Breeze exercises. So perhaps these NATO exercises provided some cover for these missile strikes, especially if this was ATACMS missiles. And it comes at the same exact time that the North Korean leader Kim Jong Un is visiting Russia and is having meetings with Putin. Pretty much as Kim Jong Un was about to meet Putin, these missiles were launched towards Sevastopol. So obviously, if these are ATACMS, obviously this missile strike was the debut of ATACMS missiles. If these were ATACMS, we don't know yet. We haven't had any official statement saying what type of missiles were used to hit Sevastopol. But this missile strike obviously is meant to be a distraction from the failing counteroffensive. That's a given. But this missile strike is also meant to embarrass Putin, not only embarrass him and the Russian government while they're having the Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok, but also embarrass Putin as he's meeting with the North Korean leader Kim Jong Un. And in my video yesterday, I said that for the next 3 to 6 months, maybe the next 9 months, you're going to see the United States escalate in a big way when it comes to conflict in Ukraine. And the reason that the U.S. is going to escalate in a big way is because they want to force Russia into agreeing to their Korea armistice conflict freeze. So the escalation from the United States and NATO is really not going to serve a military purpose. It's not going to really have much of a purpose as far as the conflict in Ukraine goes, but it's going to serve the purpose of trying to panic Russia and force Russia into some sort of a conflict freeze agreement. So that is the big news as far as the missile strike in Sevastopol. I'm sure as the day goes along, or maybe as the day goes along, we may get some more information as to just what happened in Sevastopol. And Russia, as it always does, it will absorb this attack. It's not going to change Russia's plan as far as the special military operation goes. It's not going to steer Russia off course. But I do believe after getting some information about this missile strike, especially the number of people that have been injured, I do believe that Russia will retaliate for this one, and they probably will retaliate in a big way. So we'll see. We'll see if and when Russia does retaliate. So the Economic Forum in Vladivostok. Let's talk a bit about that. Putin was in attendance, and as Putin always does when he attends these conferences, whether it's Valdai or whether it's the St. Petersburg Forum or the Vladivostok Forum, he gives very interesting speeches. He attends panel discussions, and he talks for hours and hours, and he says so many interesting things that I think I would need to do like an hour or 2 hour long video just to get to all of the topics that Putin covers. But you know, he was classic Putin. Anyone that has been following Putin over the many years, I think that this was just another classic display of Putin's command of the topics and the information and the data and the numbers and his understanding of everything that is going on today and everything that has happened in the past, because Putin always likes to go back in history when he talks about a lot of the geopolitical news that is happening today. But he did cover a lot of interesting topics. Let me just do a quick rundown of some of the topics that he covered during the Eastern Economic Forum. He talked about Trump, and he talked about how what's happening to Trump is indeed political persecution. So he understands what's going on in the United States. He understands why they're going after Trump, and he talked about that. He talked about Africa, and he talked about how the countries of the West, the colonizing countries of the West, how they dealt with Africa in the past, and how Africa's futures now is very bright and very promising, because Africa is finally starting to move away from the past of the Western colonizers and is looking forward to a multipolar world. He talked about that. He talked about Armenia. That was an interesting exchange, and Pashinyan, the leader of Armenia, and he talked about the situation there, which is very tense. And we all know now what's happening in Armenia. I think anyone with a brain, 2 eyes, and 2 ears understands what Pashinyan is trying to do in Armenia. He is taking Armenia down a very dangerous path. And I mentioned this in a video that I did from Athens, Greece. Pashinyan is basically trying to offload Nagorno-Karabakh. He doesn't want Nagorno-Karabakh to be an issue anymore, so he's pretty much he's definitely trying to just hand over Nagorno-Karabakh to Azerbaijan, but he doesn't want to take the blame for it. So he's trying to put the blame on Russia, and his reason for doing that is because without the conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh, it opens up the path for Pashinyan and his elite political class to make their application and their move into the European Union and into NATO. So that's pretty much what he's trying to do. And he understands that politically, he simply just can't give over Nagorno-Karabakh. He can't ditch Nagorno-Karabakh. He'd suffer a terrible political cost if he were to do that. So he's trying to make Russia into the scapegoat. He's trying to blame it all on Russia. That's going to be the excuse for Nagorno-Karabakh being overrun by Azerbaijan. And once he deals with Nagorno-Karabakh, he can begin to move Armenia to the European Union and eventually into NATO. That's pretty much in a very quick summary what Pashinyan is doing, and everybody is onto this now. I think almost everybody understands what he's trying to do. It's a very, very dangerous game that he is playing, because the only country at this moment, the only country that can guarantee Armenia's sovereignty and security at this very moment is Russia. That's the only country that can guarantee Armenia's security and sovereignty. and he's trying to make an enemy of Russia. So we'll see what's going to happen there in Armenia. But Putin did touch on this topic as well. He also talked about the collective West sanctions on Russia, and he said that U.S. sanctions against Russia and freezing Russian assets is destroying the trust in the U.S. dollar. He also said, I thought this was an interesting comment from Putin, one of the more interesting comments he made. He said that Russia has made twice as much money than the amount that was frozen at the beginning of the special military operation by the collective West. So this 250 or 300 billion, whatever the amount is, of Russian reserves and assets that was frozen during the beginning of the SMO, Putin said that Russia has already made twice that amount from the beginning of the special military operation up to today. It's already made twice that amount. So I thought that was a really interesting comment from Putin. Let's see. He also praised Elon Musk in a way. He kind of talked about Elon Musk and the whole Starlink thing, and he kind of threw a little bit of praise towards Elon Musk. I don't know if that's going to help Elon Musk, to be quite honest, because the collective West media is really going after Elon really hard. But he talked about that as well. You see, Putin covers a lot of topics. He gets briefed really well. His team really briefs him well. Kind of like how Biden's team briefs Biden really well, right? Anyway, he then said what I think was perhaps the most interesting comment and number that he threw out for the forum, for the event, and that is the 71,500. He said that in the last 3 months, the Ukraine casualty number is 71,500. That is a horrific, catastrophic number. But I will say this. I believe that number because it falls in line with the estimates, not only of the Russian Ministry of Defense and the number that Shoigu threw out maybe a month and a half ago, which was 40, I think he had the number of like 41 or 42,000, but it also is in line with many of the estimates that the collective West media has put out there over the past couple of months. Over the first 2 months, the collective West media, they were also talking about numbers of casualties in the 45 to 50,000 range. So you tack on another month and a half to get to the 3-month mark, a little over 3 months, and the 71,000 number is probably pretty accurate. It's probably very accurate. That is a catastrophe for the Ukraine military and for the Zelensky regime. That is a catastrophe, and it has to stop. Ukraine has to stop this madness. I'm having a hard time understanding how they continue to go on with this fantasy of a counteroffensive, and how they continue to put out articles talking about liberating towns and Rabotinya and moving towards Tokmak and Melitopol. This madness has to stop. 71,500. That is makes me shake. It's really an incredible number in 3 months. Anyway, let's move on. Let's leave it there and move on. And let's talk about Kim Jong Un. I think this is the big story of the day. Was the North Korean leader's trip to Russia. And this was a trip that should surprise no one. It should surprise no one. Two collective West sanctioned countries deciding to meet and work together. This should come as no surprise. No surprise. But the collective West is making it out like this is a huge shock. This is a shocker. I can't believe that the most sanctioned country, I guess that's Russia now, is meeting with the second or the third most sanctioned country, which is North Korea. Who could have ever called that one? Oh boy. Anyway, the U.S. did come out with a statement, and it said that it would place more sanctions on Russia and North Korea after this meeting. What more sanctions are you going to place on these countries? I mean, it's just such nonsense. The U.S.'s reply to everything now on a geopolitical level, anything that they don't agree with, is just sanctions. We don't agree with something, sanction. We don't agree with what you're doing, sanction. What'd you do right there? I don't agree with that, sanction. Sanction, 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 sanctions. Pretty soon you're going to have more countries that are sanctioned than countries that are not sanctioned. I actually think we're probably getting close to that. We're probably getting close to a point in time where you're going to have more countries that are sanctioned by the collective West than you're going to have countries that are not sanctioned. That's going to be the biggest block in the entire world. Are going to be the sanctioned countries. That's going to be the 80% of the rest of the world. The EU is even sanctioning their own EU members in a way. They're even going after Hungary, and they're kind of sanctioning Hungary. I mean, that's how crazy they've become with sanctions. It's like they discovered a new toy, a toy that doesn't work, but they're very much enamored with this toy. Anyway, that was the U.S. That was a statement that the U.S. made. I don't understand why the U.S. should care, to be quite honest. Trump, he wanted good relations with North Korea. Whether you like Trump or hate Trump, one thing everyone should admit, should say is accurate, is that Trump really did make an effort to build good relations with North Korea. I mean, he met with Kim. He walked over to the other side with Kim. They got along. I mean, he made an effort, and he got really close to building good relations with North Korea. And then the neocons, the neolibs, John Bolton, the collective West media, they went crazy. How could you speak with Kim? How could you meet with dictator Kim? How could you meet with North Korea? How dare you? How dare you? And they sabotaged the whole thing. So why should the U.S. care? You had your chance. You were going to make friends with North Korea, and you didn't want to make friends with North Korea. So, let it go. Let Russia make good with North Korea. Russia's always had good relations with North Korea. They've actually always had good relations with South Korea as well. I'm just making sure my bag is safe as I'm walking a little bit further away. So, I don't understand why the collective West or why the Biden White House is so upset. They have no reason to be upset. You had your chance. You didn't want to make friends with North Korea. So be it. Anyway, Kim, he did tell Putin, and I quote, and I think this was the best line from Kim Jong Un. He said that I will always stand with Russia. That's what he said. I will always stand with Russia. And you know what else was great about the meeting between Kim and Putin? I think this is the best part. And you're going to probably think I'm crazy for saying this. But Kim suited up. Kim Jong Un, he looked good, man. He looks good in a suit and tie. And a nice suit and a nice tie. Good on you, Kim. Not like Zelensky in his green camouflage outfit, going to a NATO meeting and wearing green, military green everywhere he goes. He suited up and he looked good. Good on you, Kim. Good on you, my man. Oh boy. Everyone's going to say Alex likes dictators. Alex likes dictators. Hey, it's just an observation. Just an observation. Calm down. Calm down, Nafo. Calm down. Just an observation. That's it. I think it's good that he wore a suit. I think it was very appropriate of him. Anyway, they met at the Cosmodrome and they talked business. They talked business. I don't think the meeting is about North Korea supplying weapons to Russia, though. I don't see a problem with that. If that is something that they agree on, why not? I mean, if Russia can get ready to go cheap weapons, or can perhaps trade cheap weapons for satellite technology or rocket technology, why not? If it's a good deal, go for it. I don't see what the problem there is either. I mean, Ukraine is getting weapons for the past year, not for the past year and a half, for the past 10 years, 10 plus years, Ukraine has been getting weapons from NATO, from the collective West, from 40 countries. They've been getting training and weapons and mercenaries and building fortifications for the last 10 years. So if Russia wants to grab some North Korean weapons on the cheap, or trade something, weapons for satellite tech or for rocket tech, why not? I don't see a problem with that either. And that's what I think is going to happen. I think that Russia's going to probably get some weapons, but what they're really meeting about is to do business. They met at the Cosmodrome for a reason. North Korea is interested in satellite technology and rocket technology, all of these things. And so I think that Russia and North Korea are going to do good business. And I think it's a smart move from Russia as well. Russia has always had good relations with North Korea, and it's had good relations with South Korea. But South Korea turned on Russia, and South Korea started to supply ammunition to Ukraine. So South Korea can supply ammunition to Ukraine. Why can't North Korea supply ammunition to Russia? Fair is fair. But South Korea, they got on the sanctions train, and they started supplying ammunition to Ukraine, and they got involved in this conflict. And so, if Russia wants to help out North Korea, put some pressure on South Korea, I think that's fair. I think that's very fair. Anyway, it's a big meeting between Kim Jong Un and Putin. So let's do a couple more stories, and we'll wrap this video up with a clown world. And how about an update on the export of Ukrainian grain to the European Union? The ban that the EU put in place on Ukraine grain, because Poland, Slovakia, Romania, I believe Bulgaria, Greece, and Hungary, they did not want Ukraine dumping cheap grain in their country. And the grain, there was a lot of reports that the grain was not of the, let's just be diplomatic about it, was not of the best quality. And so they pressured the European Union to ban the exports of Ukraine grain into the EU. Well, that export ban is going to expire on September the 15th, in 2 days. And Poland has already come out with a statement, with many statements, multiple statements. And they said that they don't care if this ban expires. They will not allow Ukraine grain to enter Poland. Remember, there's going to be an election in Poland on the 14th, 15th of October. And the last thing that Morawiecki and Walk on the Wild Side, the Duda, the last thing that they want is cheap Ukraine grain in Poland, undercutting the Polish agricultural sector and the farmers. They don't want any of that, at least not before the elections. So they've come out and they've said no Ukraine grain, even after the 15th of September deadline. And actually, Ukraine said that they're going to take Poland to court, to arbitration. Those are some good allies, some really good friends there, Ukraine and Poland. Really good friends. That's how you know you have a really good friendship, when you can take your best buddy to court because your best buddy is blocking your food, your grain, your GMO or Monsanto, I don't know, whatever grain. Anyway, yeah, that's that was the announcement from Poland. That was how Ukraine treated that announcement. But today you have another 3, 4 countries coming out and saying that that they're also going to block Ukraine grain from entering the European Union. Those countries are Hungary, Slovakia, and Romania. 3 countries. They're joining Poland on this blockade after the September 15th deadline of Ukraine grain. So there you have it. That's an update on the grain situation. And before I get to my clown worlds, real quick, McCarthy impeachment inquiry. I should do a dedicated video on this, but you know, McCarthy, he came out, the House leader, and he announced an impeachment inquiry, not an impeachment, but an impeachment inquiry. So we're not at an impeachment yet, but now they're going to inquire about Biden and Hunter and Burisma. And they're going to try to figure out if Biden was up to some no good with his son, Hunter. It's just a really tough case to crack with Hunter, isn't it? It's a tough case to crack with Hunter. Was Biden using Hunter to do business? Just don't know. It's a tough one. You know, you have Biden on video talking about firing the Ukraine prosecutor Shokin, who was investigating the company that Hunter was on the board of directors with, and getting a salary of $1 million+ dollars. You have it on video, but it's just hard to know if there was any quid pro quo or any corruption. You know, you just don't know. You know, and yeah, they're gonna now start to try and figure out if Biden was up to some no good. You know, they want Biden gone. I think that's what's going on. I think the Uniparty, they're in negotiations. The Democrats, the Republicans, the Uniparty, the McConnells and the Pelosi's and the McCarthys and the Grahams and all these people, like all the Uniparty guys, right? They're trying to figure out, who do we want to be president? Who can we get to be president in 2024? Joe is not going to cut it. He made a mess of Ukraine. We have to find an off-ramp in Ukraine, and maybe we can dump it on Joe. He's also just out of it. There's no way he's going to make it. Very unpopular. People don't like him. People don't want him. Even Democrats are saying he's too old to run for president. We got Kamala, but Kamala is probably even worse than Joe. And they're trying to figure it out. And on the Republican side, they're scared to death of Trump. And they're really pushing Nikki Haley hard, because Nikki Haley would start about 50 new conflicts, 50 new wars if Nikki Haley was president. And that's exactly what they want. That's what they love, more wars. And so they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out, what do we do? And so I think they got the impeachment inquiry. It's going to buy them some time, some space. And eventually it may be the way to dump Biden, maybe to dump Project Ukraine as well. In one go, you can dump Biden, dump Project Ukraine. You can probably say that you know, Biden, well, you know, he wasn't corrupt, but he misjudged things, and he probably should have told Hunter to resign from Burisma, but you know, he loves Hunter very much, and he didn't want to intervene in Hunter's business dealings, but it was inappropriate. So it's best if Uncle Joe, and they're going to say, you know, Uncle Joe, they're going to try to present him as the lovable uncle, right? They're going to say Uncle Joe probably just needs to step aside and just live the rest of his life in peace with his family in Delaware, and that's what they're going to say, something like that. And then they'll dump Project Ukraine as well. That's a possibility. I'm just throwing some stuff out there. I could definitely see them discussing that type of possibility, but they have to find someone to replace Uncle Joe, and that's where I think they're in a bit of a bind, and that's why they're so terrified of Trump, because you know, they don't want Trump in as president, and they're trying to push other alternatives like Nikki Haley. Anyway, there was an article on National Review that Alexander sent me, which made an interesting point about about Biden and Hunter Biden. National Review is a neocon magazine. I mean, it is peak neocon, and they said that that Biden is corrupt. I mean, the neocons, and Biden is a neocon. He's always been a neocon for 50 years in the Senate. Biden has been a chief neocon, and I mean, he kissed the memorial of John McCain. I mean, that's as neocon as you get. And National Review, they said, look, Biden is corrupt. It's time for him to go. And actually, National Review, this neocon magazine, they made a very good point. They made an excellent point. They said that even if Biden is not corrupt and he's a straight up stand-up guy, the minute in 2014 that he was appointed as the man in charge of Ukraine by Obama, right? 2014, 2015. The minute Obama put him in charge of Ukraine to run Ukraine, he should have told Hunter to step down from his board position at Burisma. That would have been the right thing to do. Even if Biden was clean, like super clean, he should have said, son, I've been appointed as the person in charge of post-coup Ukraine, and I can't have you working at this company in Ukraine because it's a conflict of interest. It's not going to look good. So you have to resign from the board. You understand, son, right? And Hunter should have said, yeah, pops, I understand. And that should have been it. But Biden didn't do that. Right? He let Hunter stay on Burisma, and then they did a whole bunch of other business with the ex-Moscow mayor's wife. What's her name? Yelena, I forgot her name. Batura, I think. And she gave Hunter $3.5 million. How many times does someone just travel to the U.S. and hand you over $3.5 million so that you can, I don't know, purchase real estate or something like that? Because you got to remember, Hunter Biden is a Renaissance man. He's a real estate expert. He's a financial expert. He's a legal expert. He's an oil and gas expert. He's a writer. He's a painter. He knows how to mix chemicals. I mean, he's a real Renaissance guy. And so, yeah, then Biden started to do all kinds of other business with all kinds of other people, and all kinds of money was flowing. Anyway, I thought that was a good point that National Review made, which is, even if Biden was clean, the minute he was appointed as the de facto leader of Ukraine, he should have told his son to step down because the conflicts were apparent, obvious conflicts. Anyway, let's do a couple of clown worlds. How am I doing on time here? I'm doing okay. So let's talk about Podolyak. Podolyak, Zelensky's BFF. He gave an interview, I believe, to a Ukrainian media channel, and he said in this interview, what is the problem of India, China, and so on? The problem of these countries is that they do not analyze the consequences of their own moves. Weak intellectual potential in these countries, unfortunately, just like the Republic of Turkey. That's what Podolyak, the advisor to the head of the office of the president of Ukraine. I went to like 30 different posts about this interview and translations, and all the translations said this, because I couldn't believe that he actually said this. So I said, this has to be some sort of a joke. This has to be fake news. They're mistranslating him in order to cause up a controversy. But every single post which translated this interview had him saying this. Weak intellectual potential. India, China, Republic of Turkey. Jeez, bro. Podolyak, you messed up. You messed up in a big way. A big way. You have pissed off millions, billions of people with that comment. Not good. Not good at all. And finally, how about Kaja Kallas, the Prime Minister of Estonia? She gave an interview to The Guardian, and The Guardian has an article called Witch Hunt, Estonian Prime Minister defends husband's Russian business links. Kaya Kallas. She says it's a witch hunt. The Guardian says that Kallas, who has led a stridently pro-Ukrainian government since coming to power, has defended herself by saying her husband, Avro Halik, is not a public figure and that she cannot be held responsible for his business activities. That's right. Kaya Kallas and her husband and all the EU kleptocracy and all the EU elite class, they can do business with Russia and in Russia. We can't. They can do business. We can't. We're not allowed to do business. We're not allowed to travel. We're not allowed to read Russian books. We're not allowed to speak the Russian language. We're not allowed to talk about Russia. They can make money doing business in Russia. Right? We're not allowed to read Russian news on the internet. We have to ban RT and have to ban all these Russian media sites. But Kaya Kallas, his husband, he can do business in Russia and make money by doing business in Russia. But to be fair, and I will leave you with this one final thought. To be fair, how could Kaya Kallas know that her husband was doing business in Russia? How could she have known? You know, it's not like she's married to the guy. How could she know that her husband is doing business in Russia? It's just something that I imagine he forgot to tell her at the dinner table. You know? Anyway, that's the video, everybody. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and X. And go to the Duran shop. 10% off. Use the code right there. My Duran backpack. Use the code. Good day. Take care.